Hello everyone, welcome to the course of Fundamentals of IoT. In today's class, we are going to learn about IoT categories, IoT challenges, and IoT considerations. Now, if you see the IoT categories, mostly the IoT Internet of Things devices are categorized into two types. One is industrial IoT and another one is consumer IoT. Okay, so industrial IoT is nothing but the IoT or the devices or the electronic devices which are connected over an internet using an IP address. Okay, so it can be a kind of monitoring several stations like industrial stations or manufacturing companies, or several robots are connected over a single network, okay, to give some commands. So in order to monitor or in order to manipulate or control that particular device with respect to high scale industrial way, okay, so it is considered as the industrial IoT. So most of the industrial IoT, the IoT devices connect to an IP network. So using an IP address, we are going to connect through an browser or an application, okay, so globally through the internet. So from any part of the world, we can operate this particular IoT device, or we can monitor this particular IoT device using an IP address, okay, globally, okay. And communication between the nodes. So nodes means it can be between the machineries, or it can be between the industry to the industry, or it can be between the a machine to a machine, okay. So within the industry, what I'm talking about, it can be related to an huge cooling industries, it can be related to a huge automated machineries, or it can be anything, okay. So industrial specific technologies with respect to communication between machine to machine or the node to node is considered with respect to the industrial IoT. So on the whole, an industrial IoT is nothing but so controlling or monitoring a particular machineries with respect to an IP address or IP networks using an internet which can be monitored or controlled globally. Okay. Now coming to the consumer IoTs, these are nothing but the local communication IoT modules, like a small camera surveillance, okay, connected to a shop or a home, okay. So, or it can be a burglar alarm kind of thing, or it can be a small office kind face detection kind of thing, okay. So all these IoT device communicate within the local network devices, okay. So generally local communication is done mainly using a Bluetooth, Zigbee, or Wi-Fi, or something like this, okay. So it's a short range wireless communication. So generally these will be having a gateway, okay, where all these particular devices are united using a local communication, okay. So as I said, the best example is a camera surveillance within the home, or suppose a burglar sensor is there, okay. So or a home automation sensors are there, whatever the sensor is sensing can be, okay, monitored for a particular distance, okay. So that distance will be having some sort of limit, okay. Or a low technical IoT devices, or the household consumer IoT devices can be considered into this, okay. Whereas industrial IoT is a vast technology with globally connected over internet, can be controlled or monitored, okay. Now, coming to the IoT challenges, there are lots and lots of challenges to be faced whenever we are manufacturing or using this particular IoT device, okay. One is the security, okay. So security is one of the important tasks in order to provide for this particular IoT devices with respect to a threat kind of thing or theft kind of thing. The data can be stolen in between the communication. So any wireless communication should be secured, right? So security, scalability, and energy efficiency. So if at all we are continuously 24/7, we are using this particular devices, so energy also need to be considered. So for IoT devices are designed in such a way that, okay, so it can be working with less minimum energy, okay. And the scalability in the sense, if at all based on the requirements, okay, the memory size can be increased, the data can be increased, or the bandwidth can also be increased. Okay, so bandwidth management, as I've already said, when more data to be transferred, so it can be an analytical path or a huge video size, or it can be anything. Okay, so bandwidth management can also be done with respect to the data as well as the application used. Okay, and modeling and analysis with respect to IoT. Okay, interfacing with the another devices, IoT devices interfacing with another device, interoperability. Okay, so communicating with the nearby machines or nearby nodes within that particular application itself. Okay, exchange of data or communicating with the nearby nodes or the nearby machines within that complete application can be considered as the interoperability. Okay, and data storage is one of the challenging thing. Most of the IoT devices will be coming with the data storage like hard disk or the memory cards kind of thing. Once the data memories gets filled, okay, so there should be another way to store that particular data in the form of cloud. Okay, all these to be considered as the challenges. And not only the data analytics, whatever the parameters given by the sensors. Okay, all these things to be considered with respect to data analysis, and the management itself is an complex one. So IoT challenges are all these things need to be considered before using or designing this particular IoT applications. Okay, and coming based on this particular IoT categories as well as IoT challenges, we need to consider few IoT tasks. Okay, like the communication between the IoT device and the outside world. Okay, will gives you the network architecture, how actually the machines are working with respect to internet connected to it. Okay, and the choice of communication technologies. So whatever the technology we are choosing in order to communicate with the IoT devices. Okay, so it also includes hardware requirements and costs. Okay, everything comes under considerations. If you are going for a global kind of thing, the cost increases and the hardware complexity also increases. If at all we are going for a local communication thing, the hardware requirement or the cost may slightly reduce. Okay, so another consideration is due to the presence of numerous applications of IoT enabled devices, single networking is not at all sufficient. Okay, so there should be lots of addressing nodes. Okay, or multiple networking platforms in order to satisfy the consumer needs. Okay, with respect to the IoT device. So all these IoT considerations are also need to taken into an account.